Yes, today I will be chatting about Love is Blind Season 8, episodes 10 through 12, featuring exciting stuff such as an uneventful pod squad party, men avoiding having a stance on political issues, and making having a sister your whole personality. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel. We do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So today is our final recap and installment discussing Love is Blind Season 8, episodes 10 through 12. I continue to be bored with this season. The only thing keeping me going is discussing it with y'all. Let me just get into the couples. A disclaimer, I don't know these people in real life. I'm just here to make judgments and assumptions about whatever edited narrative they are having through this season. I don't condone sending them hate, personally reaching out to them in any way. I don't do that at all. I keep it all in my little bubble because it is just a TV show. I say it every time. So starting with Joey and Monica, as usual, this couple has kind of fallen for me. They're really good at communicating. They're really good together. There's nothing really wrong with them, but also in these episodes, it kind of feels like Joey has one foot in, one foot out of the relationship. They do solve the sister thing. Last time, her sister, when she met him, she was very against him, didn't see it, and then we see them have this photo shoot with her and she apologizes for not being so nice. She's still being a little bit poking at them because she's like, well, I just wasn't sure. His energy level is so high and we like to nap. From what I've seen, Monica has plenty of energy to keep up with Joey. And I don't think napping is getting in the way. But aside from that, she apologized and is now more supportive of the whole thing. She thinks it's all fast and kind of weird, but that's normal for the family and for anyone. All the communication in this couple has been very stellar, which makes me really sad that they kind of don't seem to be working out. I don't see them saying yes at the altar. I mean, Monica seems more sure, more like she's ready and happy to say yes, but for Joey, some of the things he was saying, it just feels like I'm enjoying this time, but we're going to part ways in a few days, and I'm enjoying kind of the last bit of it. He's mentioned a few times he's not sure about the decision. He's taking it day by day, which is fine. Sometimes that leads to a yes, but I just don't see it. At the wedding suit try-ons, he was saying, I'm taking the decision day by day, when most people are more sure by that point. And then at their final date, which was such a beautiful date, it was my favorite. Usually they go all out for the final dates of the couples. Joey and Monica's was by far my favorite. And seeing them at this date made it click for me that they're kind of giving Beauty and the Beast, right? He looks like the Beast when he became human again. Anyway, so in this date, they're again communicating really well. They're talking about love languages, and Monica's saying, I could use more physical touch from you, and he's saying he's been trying to work on it, and she's like, I noticed that. I appreciate your effort. So everything seems fine, but also there was one line he said that made my ears perk up, because instead of at the end exchanging I love yous, he said, I have a lot of love for you. And to me, that line alone is just I'm saying no at the altar. It just is what it is. In this case, it just feels like, oh, I have a lot of love for you. I love this experience. I've loved it with us, but I don't see the marriage happening. He's just pretty hesitant and keeping her kind of at arm's length. And also, I don't know about his family. I thought we would see them in these episodes, and we didn't. There were a few families we didn't really see if there were interactions or meetings. So I don't know. They didn't really get many scenes these episodes. I'm just also confused because this season has been kind of the most modest we've seen, in that we don't know who is doing it all the time and really into each other in that way. Which is fine. It's always a little dicey when they show a lot of sex on these shows and stuff. But, I have no good read of, are Monica and Joey physically good? Are they excited? Are they doing it? Nothing. I don't know anything. They are really not that affectionate, not really all over each other. They have like best friend vibes and get along really well, but it just doesn't seem that romantic ever. Often I get mad when like couples on Love is Blind are forcing it. Like clearly there's huge deal breakers that arise and then the people just stay and don't break up. And this couple doesn't feel like that. It feels like an honest effort and sticking through the timeline they have going, because there's no big deal breakers that came up. There's no big weird crazy thing that like someone can't get over, like a couple like Dave and Lauren and stuff. It's a token couple on Love is Blind. It's a staple. The couple that's like kind of fine the whole time and then at the altar is just like, not for me, I guess. And that's Joey and Monica to me. It's sad because I was rooting for them there for a sec. Okay, next is Sara and Ben. Every time I'm so annoyed to talk about this couple. They're so annoying. I truly have not known peace since this couple got engaged on this stupid show. Apparently so many people thought his friends were hired that one of the friends, I think it was Lana, the main talkative one, she had to post receipts that they've been friends and hung out multiple times. And I did look at the receipts and I saw a lot of photos of them together. So I still somehow think they're hired, but you know, there is evidence that they might not have been. Of course, nothing comes of the TikTok exposed thing. That was the cliffhanger last few episodes. Sara is just like annoyed that outside influences are coming in and that anyone could just make up something about us to try to get in the way of our relationship. Sara, these whole episodes is kind of just like gaslighting herself into thinking Ben is her perfect match when his actions and words aren't really supporting that notion. This whole TikTok thing is very weird. Like Ben saying he doesn't remember. It just all feels very like he doesn't even have like a proper side of the story, like I've said. So it's just like, I think she is just trying to rationalize this relationship and she wants it to work so bad. And that's the theme with Sara these whole episodes. She like wants this to work so bad, and she's an example of like forcing it when there's been kind of enough differences and value differences between them that it's like should have been time to call it, unfortunately for her, because she's just kind of delulu. It feels like anytime there's a problem, the next day she's in an interview saying like, everything's great, Ben is my twin flame, perfect match, we agree on everything, we're the same person. Girl, but yesterday he wasn't sure where he stood on gay rights, and she's just like, he's amazing, he's perfect, I can't imagine my life without him. Maybe she has 51st date syndrome, and when she wakes up, she forgets the night before. I was just always confused, and thank God we finally met Sara's sister. I swear, the sisters are the main characters of season 8. Because they are running the season. So we meet Sara's sister, Lisa, and her girlfriend, Kelsey, and Queenie Kelsey puts these bitches in their place, finally. Also, when they met up with the sisters, I saw drag queens in the background. Hey girl, hey. The hustle does not go unnoticed by me. And so they breach the subject of like how in the pods, Sara was worried about Ben being a homophobe, essentially, with how he reacted about her sister being gay and Sara believing in gay rights. I can't believe we're having these conversations. I'm over it at this point. And apparently Sara considers herself, just like Ben, fiscally conservative, socially liberal. I don't know if she knows what that means. I'm just making a guess. Who knows? She could be very well researched and whatever. I feel like maybe she's just trying to fit in with him, or says like, that sounds like an okay value, sure, but not really researching what that means politically and how you usually vote if you have those values. And that's what Kelsey is trying to tell her, like, you know, a lot of people that will identify with that vote very differently than you. And she's just like, Sara keeps talking about like, oh, I didn't know about his church's acceptance. And she keeps calling it acceptance, to believe in equality. She uses that term a lot. And Kelsey stops her and is like, nothing against you, but I don't really like that term because it kind of, I get it. It's very othering. It's like making it sound like these are some weirdos this church has to accept instead of them just being fellow humans. Sara seems still very like new on this journey of like learning about social issues, and she seems like really guilty, like that she said the word acceptance. Kelsey's like, it's okay, like that you said that word. It's just like not my preferred term. So ironically, Sara's sister and Kelsey are struggling to accept Ben because of these differences in values. And Sara is just downplaying it and talking about how much they do align. But it just doesn't, I don't know. I kind of feel like they sense she's not being fully herself. And she's kind of like molding herself in ways to like rationalize being with this man and marrying him. And they're just not buying it. And I'm glad because they're still very supportive of her and trying, like, they're very loving to Sara. Like, Kelsey might have given her a little bit of tough love. Kelsey and Sara's sister Lisa have been through things, and I think they have the right to talk to them about, like, hey, when we vote, we have to consider things that you don't have to consider. And Ben has a lot of privilege being a cis white male in this country, and the way he votes or the way people that are fiscally conservative vote might impact your rights, Sara, as a woman, especially in this political climate. So rightfully, Lisa and Kelsey don't like Ben. And I'm glad they were honest they were supportive. They're like, whatever you want to do for you. But we're not buying it. And also, like, they mentioned he doesn't seem real, which is my big issue with Ben as well. On top of them really not aligning politically, he seems phony. He's hamming it up for the cameras. He just, like, everything he says just gives me the ick in, like, a way that it's just inauthentic. She also tries going to church with him, and she looks bored out of her mind. This poor girl. And I've been there, girl. I grew up Catholic, and I still feel like time is relative, and there's some part of me that's still stuck in a mass somewhere that never ends. They looked so bored. Even Ben looked bored. I'm like, isn't this your thing? I don't know. And also, like, it shows how starved for content this season was, that they showed so much of this preacher's sermon. Like, why did I have to listen to That's not the reality TV I chose to watch today. So Sara, from this church experience, and she's trying to learn more about his church, and she's really not getting a fully inclusive vibe from it. She's kind of open to returning, but she wants to do more research. Quick, let's take a break to get a selfie with our air fryers. Like, that's how boring this season is. Guys, what show should I cover next? Because I'm ready to jump ship. We get this final date. They go, like, glamping, one of these, like, clear tent thingies. And it feels like she's trying to ask him the same questions over and over, hoping to get a different answer. And then she doesn't. She talks to him about doing more research about his church and, like, what is their actual official stance on LGBT issues. And yes, they welcome anyone into the church, but they still have traditional views on lifestyles. I feel like she was implying the classic love the sinner, hate the sin, and that they were talking about, like, if a child is feeling like they might be trans, it's okay to love them, but it's not okay to validate and affirm them and, like, tell them they're right. And I feel like this is a total tactic of a lot of churches, because they are happy to take your gay dollars. Churches, you know, survive off of members and donations, and things like that. And they will kind of on the surface have this inclusive messaging, like, everyone's welcome, it's all love here. But when it comes to, like, talking about the lifestyle and children and raising children, when you dig deeper, it's like they do not approve of validating or affirming that. Like, it's seen as kind of like, we'll love you in spite of that because God loves all his creations or whatever. But just because you love someone who follows that lifestyle doesn't mean you approve of that lifestyle. And they try to make that distinction once you dig deeper. And Ben mentions, like, I don't remember their stance on LGBT issues. I don't know their stance. His go-to answer is, I don't know. I don't remember things that are uncomfortable to say. And Sara's just kind of like, well, why don't you remember why don't you know this? And he's just like, it's not easy to Google that, really, because that's what I'm saying. Like, these churches, they're very clever in how they market themselves, because if a gay person happens to like resonate with the church and go to it and donate to it, they will happily take that money. And they don't want to alienate any potential customers, for lack of a better word. But also they don't want to fully endorse or like celebrate anyone for having that lifestyle. It's kind of like, we love you in spite of that. That's the vibe I'm getting from Ben's church, and he doesn't care because it doesn't affect him. So Sara doesn't seem like that satisfied with his non-answers, and he's kind of over and exhausted about like talking about the same thing over and over. And I just think like Sara just wants a new answer, and he's not giving it. I can just feel his energy of like, why does this shit matter to us? And so this very uncomfortable date ends in Ben farting in the tent, literally and metaphorically, farting on his relationship. We do see their wedding day. It's kind of confusing because, again, Sara is saying, he's amazing, he's perfect, he treats me so special, like, we are the same person. She's trying to also rationalize, like, oh, of course, I always thought I'd align with my partner 100%, but that's not possible. And it's like, girl, it's not about aligning 100%. It's about like your core beliefs aligning. So I think it's dawning on her. It feels like everyone in her camp at the wedding is like crossing their fingers and toes that they are not saying yes. I think they're concerned she's gonna say yes. But they're just like, please do what's best for you. Her sister and her girlfriend are like worried she's just like people pleasing, but deep down it seems like she is conflicted. Once people press her, she's like, well, I'm very nervous. She's emotional, but it's not like a fun kind. It's not like a happy wedding day kind. It's very uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable emotional. And like her stepdad Andy is there, and he's like outspoken about like, are you sure about this guy? Are you sure he's the smartest guy? Like, she has a very beautiful support system, because they're like, whatever you choose, we'll be here. Like, it's okay, we'll be here for you. So they're like all there with her, but they're, I think, with their eyes and telepathically trying to communicate like, girl, please say no. And I don't understand why in these scenarios families aren't more like, girl, say no, or girl, what are you gonna say? Like, if I was her sister, I'd be like, bitch, what are you gonna say at the altar? I would say that on camera. I'd be like, what are you saying? The cliffhanger is Sara's decision. She looks very conflicted at the altar, but it's so weird because she keeps saying like, I'm looking forward to our life together. Ben is saying, I want to kiss you at the altar, and then she's like, we're going to. So I'm like, are people just like lying to us? Are they lying to themselves? What is going on? I think Sara knows in her gut. She finally has one moment where she's like, my heart is saying one thing and my brain saying another. And I'm like, there you go, girl. There you go. There's no way that's a yes. I'm trying to convince myself because I'm worried. Okay, next is Dave and Lauren. I mean, they're down. They're gone. They're broken up. Thank God. They're just super annoying because everything important with them happened off camera. So we don't really know in a concrete way what is even going on with them at any time. And it's kind of been a trend in the most recent seasons. There's some couples that just like do all their shit off camera, and we have to like puzzle piece it together. And that's just super frustrating, or it's just not fun to watch. It's just like, just cut them out of the show at this point if everything happened off camera, you know? And based on the last teaser, I thought he was gonna ghost her at the wedding. Like when she says he texted me at 3 a.m. I haven't heard from him in the morning. I thought that was gonna be wedding day, but it wasn't actually. I just misread, or they tricked me in the teaser. It's like the night after their fight in the kitchen, he still goes out and hangs out with his friends. He goes to the bars, stays out all night, texts her in the middle of the night, I'm gonna stay at my place, and then she doesn't hear from him until like 2 p.m. the next day. So it's very reminiscent of the Jeremy, Sara, it's not Sara Ann, Laura, I guess was her name, when they broke up, and he's wearing the aviators. It's very clear in my mind. He had a Jeremy kind of night. But it was like less scandalous because he ran into pod people and Molly was there, but he was like, I don't want to meet Molly. He got drunk and had fun though. And we later hear that he had a girl all over him. They end this conversation more positive than I expected. Like, they still are not breaking up. And I'm just like, why aren't you breaking up? Just fucking end it. They go and meet her mom, who also has to be kind of on the defensive because Dave still has not let go of the whole controversy about her having a friends with benefits before the pods. And the whole thing with Dave, like, I don't care if he wants to break up with her for having a friends with benefits. Like, you do you. You're the one there in the relationship. If you don't trust her, you don't believe her, her story's been inconsistent, fine. Leave. Like, that's what makes me mad. It's not, like, I believe Lauren just because from what I've seen of her on the show, she seems like a nice lady. She doesn't seem like a Instagram super influencer like the way a Madison was, where it's like she's here to get famous. I believe her that this guy was a friends with benefits. He thought they were more than that. She should have maybe closed the relationship, but she didn't, and she owns up to that mistake. I believe her, but Dave doesn't have to, and he doesn't, and yet he stays in the relationship and keeps saying like, but I love you, and I want to make this work, and I want to get married, while at the same time not trusting her, not wanting her to meet his friends or family, not making any kind of effort to like redeem the situation. And he's like telling her mom, oh, my dad, you know, he's off golfing. I don't know if he can make it. I don't know if he can be involved. Lauren's dad also does not want to be on camera, but he's very willing to talk with Dave off camera, and they do. And so Lauren and her mom keep saying like, well, do your parents want to talk to us off camera? Like, we can do that. And Dave's like, no, like, they don't want to be involved. It's very confusing, and Dave is clearly just, like, he's making this shit up on the spot. You can tell when he's talking. He's just like, oh, yeah, I don't know about my dad, you know, he loves to golf, so he might be away golfing. It's like, is he in town? Is he out of town? What does that mean? It doesn't make any sense. And Lauren's mom seemed really nice, and she was very supportive, reassuring. She was trying to defend Lauren that she's very boring, and Dave liked that joke a little too much and was like, oh yeah, she's so boring and ugly, and I hate her. Haha, just kidding. We know he loves to sneak his little truths and his jokes. And Lauren's mom clocked his friends. She finally was like, they need to realize it's not about them. Finally, the next day, they break up. They go bowling, and they start arguing again about the same thing, about why he's not letting her meet his friends and family. He's saying they don't want to be involved. They don't want to meet her. He's like back and forth, and he's really trying to break up with her, but like not wanting to say it. Just like he did with Molly back in the pods. I'm telling y'all, it's a pattern with Dave. He does not want to be the one to break up. But Lauren is so determined to make it work and so in it that she is not breaking up with him either. So it kind of forces him to finally call it. So they rehash everything, the timeline, that she had a friends with benefits, that he texted her right when they came back, but she didn't answer, that she slept with him a week before she left for the show, and that he feels she's not giving him the full story. And he's like, I know my friends wouldn't lie to me, but I know you wouldn't lie to me. And it's like, Dave, you just gotta pick a side at one point. Like, you just gotta pick a side. And finally he does and breaks up with her. And finally we get this moment of clarity after the breakup. In his interview, Dave says he was standing in his own way and he couldn't get over his pride about like her sleeping with this other guy that's an acquaintance. And that it was all his ego. And I was like, where did this come from? If he had just admitted that early on and said like, you know what, I just can't deal with this, I think people would have had more respect for him, even though it's like, I would judge him for that decision, but I would be like, well, that's a deal breaker for you and you walked away. That's all you can do. And like, clearly the sister stuff, it was his thing. Like at this point, I'm like, is his sister just a mannequin in his apartment? Is she a volleyball with a face on it? Is she Dave in a wig? Like the sister felt like a boogeyman that he made up to like make an excuse for why he was acting the way he was. Also, we learned from Lauren that she had written a whole letter to his sister that he never gave to the sister. So it was just like, it was all him. Like, if he wanted them to meet Lauren, he would have made it happen. And that was Lauren's point when they were breaking up. Like, you would make it happen if you wanted it to. And yeah, finally, when he admits the ego thing, it's like, where was this self-awareness this whole time? And we do get to see Molly again, and it's fiercer than I could have ever imagined. First, she talks to Lauren, and Molly doesn't know yet they're broken up. Like, she's about to drop a bomb, and she's like, you know, Dave was out the other night, and there was a girl all over him. I just wanted you to know. I think it's important. I don't want to be sabotaging. And Lauren's just like, we broke up, no, whatever. And Molly's like, oh, shocked. Molly gets the full story, and finally someone speaks like a normal human being on this show, and Molly's just like, what the fuck? Why wasn't he defending you? If he wanted to make it happen, he would have made it happen. Why is he judging you for having a friends with benefits? That's ridiculous. Has he been celibate this whole time? Also, his selfies were so cringy on Instagram. I dodged a bullet in the pot. It's like, Molly's reaction was just very refreshing, and it felt like us, like the audience. It was fierce. And then Molly and Dave talk, and again, she is so real with him and tells him, like, you told me you do this. You push partners away, and it feels like you're pushing Lauren away to get her to break up with you. Which is what I'm saying, that he wants the girl to break up with him because he thinks being the one to break up is like the bad guy. It's the villain. He tries to give Molly the runaround. He talks about how his sister controls his life. Like, I mean, essentially he's saying that, and Molly's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, so your sister runs your life? Like, what? Here comes the boogeyman that runs Dave's life. I'm leaning most strongly towards it's Dave in a wig, because it's definitely a Jekyll and Hyde situation going on back at his apartment. And Molly just ends it with a fierce girl power moment. I'm always going to have Lauren's back. Bye. She's my real number one. Miss Congeniality. I think Molly helped him kind of come around a little bit. Molly / the producers, because he was having his interviews and being like, I want to talk to Lauren. Honestly, I think he just drank enough that he was feeling needy and wanted to talk to Lauren. In this final conversation with Lauren, he is wasted. The way he's talking, it's honestly hilarious. The alcohol helped him be a lot more honest and transparent, and he tells her to her face, like, it was my ego, like, it hurt my pride that you had a friends with benefits, you were sleeping with this guy. So I don't know, it wasn't like a conversation where anything came out of it, but at least he admitted some things that felt more honest finally, like not blaming the sister, but like, you know, my ego was hurt. I'm sorry, you didn't do anything wrong. It felt like some closure, even though him being wasted, you know, is not the most exciting or comforting thing, or like, I don't know if he's going to remember this conversation ever again. And this is where they wasted one of my favorite songs, Grammy-nominated track, Put Some Respect on Madison Beer's name. Even though the song was used on A Shit Couple, even though I've heard it 500 times on my Spotify while I take showers, them playing Make You Mine was the highlight of these episodes. And that just says these episodes were uneventful. And Lauren just seems over it. Like, she has cried way too many tears for this man as it is. I don't think she had one happy moment with Dave. Like, they talk about they played cards in Honduras. That was it. Girl, you can play cards with anybody. Like, good riddance. You don't need this, man. I don't know why she was so invested in the relationship. We do get some other Pod Squad updates. Alex and Madison were there. Madison with her pink hair. I've been waiting for that moment. She was there trying to cause some chaos. It was not successful. There's not much there. She got another dig at Mason. Sure, that he gives her the ick. And then she talks about how when her and Alex met for the first time at the airport, he was like, just obsessed with her looks and looking her up and down. As soon as he got his phone back, he was like, we gotta meet at the airport because she was so hot, wanted her to stay in LA with him. If you're keeping up on the Love is Blind social media world, there are some like really intense allegations about Alex, like to the point of like them being criminal. So I don't want to get too much into it. It involves like minors and underage drinking and stuff like that. So it's really shady. I recommend checking out at Storytime with Ricky, who is like a better detective than an FBI agent for Love is Blind stuff. She's always like the prime source, and she does her homework. So check out her Instagram and TikTok. She posts all kinds of Love is Blind updates there and like behind the scenes tea, and she digs deep. But the stuff against Alex is scary, and the way Madison described like how he was thirsting for her, even though I know a lot of y'all don't believe Madison, I believe her. I've seen enough information that I feel like at best he's a creep. Apparently he was trying to meet up with her at the airport and was like, can I at least give you a hug? Like, this man is literally the where's my hug guy trope. And I totally see it for him. Madison dodged a bullet. I know everyone thought Alex dodged the bullet because Madison was a mess, but Madison dodged an even bigger bullet. The Pod Squad drama was nothing. Like, she was trying to say that Alex was trying to say Meg was DMing him, but like nobody cared. She was like telling Lauren all this. She was just like, okay. Wow, crazy. Like, literally nobody cared. I don't care. I'm like, sure, girl, make up your drama for screen time. Whatever. Mason and Meg are not even being followed by the cameras. And we see Mason and Meg, apparently they're kind of dating, but apparently they did their own little reveal, and they wore their reveal outfits. I hope we see them together at the reunion. I think that'd be fun. I just think it's funny. Madison tried her dang hardest to make some drama, and it was just like, nobody cared. Flop. Okay. Devin and Virginia. This couple has also gone downhill for me. They went a little uphill last batch of episodes, but this batch cut it. I mean, I was already kind of implying in my last video that she was a little bit too good for him. I feel like she's settling a bit, but it's like, it was passable. And now I'm more like, I don't see it for them. I just think she should say no. He just doesn't seem quite at her level. Like, he's just like a little bit not there yet, ready for marriage compared to where she's at. They meet her mom. She's very supportive. I think she just heard like, we want to have kids soon, and got very excited, and that's what most moms want to hear. So she was very supportive. And then they bring up a conversation that I am absolutely shocked and appalled is happening this late into the game. They keep like asking each other like, what else should we ask each other? What else haven't we covered? I don't know. I think we've covered everything. First of all, it feels like a very clinical way of approaching a relationship. Like, we've checked all the boxes. And then one of them is like, what about politics? We haven't talked about that. I'm like, oh my God, we haven't talked about this? How many check-ins did it take to get to politics? Like, that's like date 1 or 2 in the pods, and they're not quite aligned in the politics department. They have like okay communication in that they don't argue, they don't get mad, but I do feel like they put on and like say things they don't mean a lot of the time. She votes more Democratic. She believes in abortion rights. She can't believe that's still a debate happening. Me neither. In this day and age, she believes in gay rights. And he's a little bit like, I don't know about the abortion thing. Like, I think a man should have a say. Like, the man and the baby, the father of the child, right? And she's a little bit like, I think they just both assumed They both assumed the other aligned more than they thought. I think he was going more on religion. I think she was going more on their race. Because there's a very few percentage of Black Republicans, and she's kind of surprised and side-eyeing that his family votes Republican. And he kind of leans both ways. Well, no, I shouldn't even give him that credit. He's another apolitical guy that doesn't really have a stance. Like, oh God. To be a man must be nice. I was so annoyed they brought up politics again because anytime I mention politics, people get real upset in the comments. Like the amount of people in my first video that were talking about presidential candidates and like voting and like the comments were talking about Kamala this, Kamala that, Kamala would have been a horrible, whatever. I was genuinely concerned, like, do those people think voting is just for president? There is so much more to vote for than presidents, in case anyone's unaware. And there's a lot of local elections going on, and that's where, honestly, these values they keep talking about that they have that I don't believe because they seem to not vote at all. Your local elections, your propositions, your city council stuff, your congressional representatives, your senators, like that shit is just as important, and it's where you can find probably more values aligned with you. Do I want my tax dollars to go to like schools and improving the schools? Do I want them to go to improving public transit? Like, there's bipartisan things on the ballot. I hope people know this. Virginia's a little iffy about if they're gonna go to the polls, are they voting different? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And she's like, oh shit, maybe we need to talk about this more as we go on. And I'm hoping this is showing her, like, maybe this is not the best match. They do have a lot of things that align, and I think they'd be an okay marriage. I just think she's just like firm on her values. Like, she knows, she believes in abortion rights. She believes in gay rights and human rights. And he's more like, I don't know. And whether it's just out of privilege or out of like, I'm traditional, or out of like, I don't want to say because I'm on TV. It just feels like every time they end a conversation, it's like, oh yeah, we're aligned. But everything they said showed they weren't really that aligned. So yeah, I don't think they're like the best match. I think she's just a little bit more ahead in life. This couple could go 50-50 at the altar because Virginia seems very excited and happy still and willing to do it. We do see Devin meet up with Brittany at the Pod Squad thing too. And they have a very friendly vibe. As usual, the teaser made it out to be like a thing when it wasn't much of anything. She even confronts him like, I didn't like how you reacted to me coming out to you. It wasn't very supportive. And apparently Brittany had her own engagement that I think fell apart that wasn't shown. And then Devin and Virginia have this prenup thing that keeps being a thing, but not really. Like, I think it was more played up for drama because she presents him with the contract, the prenup document, and he's like, I don't know, I need to take it to my lawyer and my family. But I think that's very normal, and I'm sure this man has never seen a prenup in his life. It's normal when you receive a contract to like run it by a lawyer. It's just like due diligence. So like they try to make it like a thing, a drama thing, and I'm just like, this is just like normal. And then he comes back with the prenup and it's like, actually this made my family feel a lot better about all this. Like, it's chill. He signs it and it's fine. And it wasn't a big deal. And they just played it up for drama. Like, they clearly are grasping at straws for this season to have like any conflicts, because the prenup thing was very standard procedure and it was just like, okay. He did question her a little bit again about like, what do you say to people that are like, oh my God, like prenup means she's expecting it to fail. And she's just like, says the same thing she's been saying the whole time. Like, it's just logical. It's just insurance. And we did learn she comes from a divorced family. So like that made a lot of sense why she is prepared for worst case scenario, because she's literally seen it in her own household. Normalized prenups. Oh God. And they have their final date. They seem solid. They keep saying they're solid. They keep asking yet again, is there anything we haven't addressed? Like, they kind of seem to have no chemistry because like the flow of conversation is just not there at all. It's just kind of awkward and they haven't really moved past that. He did mention Also, he asked her, like, how do you feel about the physical stuff? And she's like, yeah, I think it's good. We're growing. So I don't know if they're that physically intimate, just like every other couple. I don't really know where they stand physically, but they're not that cuddly that we see. I don't know. And in the final date, he gives her a basketball. And this is where we find out that Virginia is in a throuple with Devin and basketball. Because he's like, I love you and basketball. At their final date before their wedding. I would be so annoyed if I got a basketball. Like, fine, give the basketball, give the jerseys, but also give her a little necklace, a little jewelry, a little perfume, something that's like a gift for her, and not like your own hobby, just projected right at her. But Virginia, you know, she appreciated it as much as she could. And then finally we have Daniel and Taylor, our last couple, and our last hero couple standing, because they're the only ones I'm sure about. They're gonna say yes, while everyone else is fighting, crying, realizing they have fundamentally different core values. Daniel and Taylor are over here putt-putting and having Christmas photo shoots when it's not Christmas even, having a grand old time. They are so solid. Their families are so solid. We saw last batch of episodes. That's literally it. They just went on some cute dates. They're so wholesome. Their final date was in an ice rink, which my worst nightmare. I'm so clumsy off the ice on regular ground. They had to like walk to the middle of the ice rink to get to their dinner. I was so mad. I would be so mad. But I guess it's on brand for Minnesota in the north. That's like it for the commentary on them. I'm rooting for them. They seem like a great match. Honestly, nothing's going wrong with them, but I don't feel weird about it. And that's usually like a good sign of like a superhero Love is Blind couple, and I'm sure they're gonna make it. They're gonna be good. Everyone else, I think it's a chop. They're falling apart. Someone's gonna say no in every couple. And that's it. My last video on Love is Blind season 8. I will be doing a live stream after the reunion on Sunday night, Sunday, March 8th. Stay tuned for that if you want to join in live. The video will also stay up afterwards if you want to catch up later. But it's become tradition on my channel to do a final live stream to talk about the finale and reunion, because the finale is just outcomes, and then the reunion we get all this tea. So it's fun to discuss with y'all on chat. People come in, give opinions. I also like to do a time capsule for the season. So just like thinking about what are the iconic things of the season. Like, so far I would put Barely In for sure in the time capsule, the Christmas stockings, whatever objects make season 8 a season to be remembered. Even though there wasn't much this season, but we always find something to put in the time capsule. It's a fun time to come through and just kind of have a little party for the end of the season and celebrate. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm just kidding. I'm lying. I am not on the edge of my seat because I'm pretty sure it's just Daniel and Taylor that have any hope. Let me know who you think is making it at the altar. Like, who are you sure of? Who are you so-so? And who are you like, they're not gonna say yes. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at miscellaneous to keep up with me, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.